Zelensky reacts strongly after US-Russia call. Ukraine fears being left out of peace deal.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky issued a strong response to the summit call between Russian President Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump, declaring, "We will not withdraw from our territory." On the evening of May 19th, Zelensky announced on his social media account on X, formerly Twitter, that he had held 2 phone calls with President Trump. He also participated in a joint call with Trump, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, French President Emmanuel Macron, Finnish President Alexander Stubb, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, and European Council President Antonio Costa. According to the Kyiv Independent, Zelensky on May 19th firmly rejected President Putin's demand that Ukrainian forces withdraw from the 4 partially occupied regions. This followed a phone call between Putin and Trump, in which Putin again refused to agree to a comprehensive ceasefire. "This is our homeland. We will not withdraw from our territory. That means they do not want peace. If they demand things they know we will never accept," Zelensky stated during a press conference attended by the Kyiv Independent reporters. These comments came after the Putin-Trump call, in which President Putin once again declined to support a full ceasefire. Instead, he stated his willingness to negotiate a memorandum on a potential future peace treaty and reiterated that Russia's position remained unchanged, insisting that the root causes of the conflict in Ukraine must be addressed. After the conversation, President Trump wrote on Truth Social that the Russian Federation and Ukraine would immediately begin negotiations aimed at achieving a ceasefire and ending the war. Trump, who took office 118 days ago, had promised to end the war in Ukraine within 100 days. The conditions for that will be negotiated by both parties, of course, because they know the details of the negotiation better than anyone else, Trump added. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin's foreign policy advisor, Yuri Ushakov, told Russian reporters that the 2 presidents spoke for 2 hours and 5 minutes, and that no specific timeline for a ceasefire was discussed. For President Trump, the most important thing is direct negotiations between Ukraine and the Russian Federation, President Zelensky said, noting that Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov and Russian presidential advisor Vladimir Medinsky held a call on May 19th to discuss a prisoner exchange based on a 1,000 for 1,000 ratio. According to Zelensky, the exchange will take place in the coming days or weeks, and civilians will not be included in the list. A source from the Ukrainian presidential office told the Kyiv Independent that Trump and Zelensky spoke twice on May 19th, once before Trump's scheduled call with Putin and once afterward. According to President Zelensky, during his call with the US president, he expressed support for a ceasefire, emphasized the opportunity to provide input on a memorandum, and insisted that no decisions concerning Ukraine should be made without Ukraine's involvement. Zelensky also stated that a strong sanctions package from the EU targeting the Russian Federation was expected, though he did not specify when the sanctions would be implemented. He added that Ukraine hopes the United States will, when they deem it appropriate, impose sanctions on Russian banks and the country's energy sector. That would be a powerful and essential mechanism, Zelensky said. The calls between Trump and Putin came after several days of unproductive negotiations in Istanbul, Turkey, where Russia sent a delegation of lower-ranking officials and reiterated its sweeping territorial demands, including that Ukraine accept the loss of Crimea and the 4 partially occupied regions annexed by Russia in 2022: Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhzhia. The second call between Zelensky and Trump lasted more than an hour and included Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, French President Emmanuel Macron, Finnish President Alexander Stubb, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, and European Council President Antonio Costa. Zelensky also said Kyiv is considering the possibility of organizing a meeting between delegations from Ukraine, Russia, the US, and the EU in Turkey, the Vatican, or Switzerland. Also, on May 19th, Trump announced that the Russian Federation had expressed interest in engaging in large-scale trade cooperation.